Domestic issues were the focus of President Barack Obama's recent State of the Union speech to Congress and the American people. But with war and terrorism continuing to sprout in the Middle East, foreign policy was also at the fore. President Obama has just 2 years left in office. No surprise then that political pundits are looking ahead to 2016 when the U.S. presidency is once again up for grabs. And joining me right now is our VOA's national correspondent, Jim Malone. Thank you so much for joining me.
You bet.
To ask you a short question, please tell us what was the speech about and is there any impact?
Yeah, I can boil it down to this. I'm still here. The president wanted to remind everyone that even though Republicans had these huge gains in the November elections, he's still president. He can still act on his own. And I think most importantly what these addresses do and why they're still so important, especially to presidents, it gives them the ability to build public opinion. That still matters. He was really speaking beyond members of Congress because guess what? A lot of Republicans thought this was a no-go from the start. But if he can build public support for his policies, he's going to have a chance to face off with them, maybe get some compromises. And the other issue is his poll numbers are getting better, the economy's improving, so his position has actually gotten a little stronger.
So talk about poll numbers. If the poll numbers are higher, does that mean another Democrat coming in?
Well, it certainly would help, but you know what? History argues that it's very difficult for one party to keep the White House for 3 consecutive terms. The last time that happened was 1988, George H.W. Bush. Certainly the Democrats feel they have a strong candidate in the wings with Hillary Clinton, assuming she runs, but Republicans seem almost frantic to get their race going for their nomination for 2016. They see an excellent opportunity to take the White House back in 2016, and you know what? They know how important it is. If you don't have that bully pulpit, that White House authority, sometimes you get bound down in Congress. You can't get a lot done. So they're really going to be loaded for bear for 2016 to try to take the White House away from the Democrats.
What do you think was the response of the Republicans?
Not very optimistic. I think the Republicans were a little dismayed. In fact, they had to go out of their way in their responses to remind everyone, hey, you know what? We won the elections last year and won them convincingly. It was a terrible blow to the Obama presidency. But here's the thing for the Democrats, this president is not acting that way. If anything, he seems unburdened, liberated even, willing to act to buttress his legacy in his last 2 years and take on the Republicans where he can and threatening the use of these congressional vetoes. And so far, it doesn't look like Republicans would have enough votes to override those vetoes. So that sets up more clashes, but it also sets up the potential for possible cooperation. Why? Republicans want to show they can govern because that would help them in their quest to take back the White House in 2 years.
He talked about a lot of things, but in particular, the point towards foreign policy when he mentioned that from Paris to Pakistan to America, we need to fight terrorism and Congress must act on that. Where do you think that would lead to?
Well, they want to get congressional authorization to go after ISIS, the Islamic State. But, you know, if you look at the foreign policy context of the speech, it was, about a third, maybe less. So he was really focused on the domestic agenda, and there has been criticism from some notable Republicans in Congress that they're not strong enough right now in confronting ISIS, and they're not talking enough about the possibility of needing U.S. forces on the ground to confront the Islamic State fighters. So far, for Democrats and the president, that's a non-starter, but there's no doubt this issue is going to continue to dog the White House for the next 2 years, but there's some slight area there where they could agree to cooperate on this issue, I think.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that. Thank you so much for joining us. VOA National Correspondent Jim Malone.